Some of the examples of Molly here at the Washington County Sheriff's Office. One is a darker white form that you can see here. Others filled with what looks to be more like sand. We're told the driver had a medical emergency and his car was actually the last in the parade that was coming around the back corner near that white wall that you see before it rested in the middle of the street on this bridge. And we're told that the car was going about 25 miles an hour before it crashed into a group of people. It has the makings for a movie. American students going overseas to try and make a difference. But this story took a dramatic turn when 3 medical students, one from ETSU, were held against their will in a hotel. Jeff Metcalf's mailbox, it originally was located right here in the front of his property before an explosion that sent the front of his mailbox all the way across the street, hitting the top of this tree. The force of that explosion then sent it ricocheting to a nearby barn. And investigators say the force of that explosion could have created dangers that were far greater. Sarah, the factors you just mentioned have really created a perfect storm, and hospital systems are doing what they can to weather the changes. And from there, I broke down the numbers, comparing and contrasting different public positions. Rather than look to those immediately at the bottom, I focused on those at the top and asked the question, what is the cost of those who influence how your tax dollars are spent? Pieces of the car remain a reminder the day after of the accident that left a car flipped upside down in between these 2 trailers. Now, thankfully, no one was inside at the time of the crash, but those surrounding this scene, a bit of a different story. Just to kind of paint a picture of the scene in the courtroom when Judge Blackwood made the decision that those charges would be dropped, the courtroom was mostly filled with people in their support for Kent Harris, and they erupted into applause. When it comes time to retire the flag, there's an easy and proper way to dispose of it. All you have to do is fold up your flag and bring it to one of the several drop-off locations.
That turkey's bigger than you, Riley.
Every year, Richard Heinen cooks a Thanksgiving meal for his family.
You like cherries, you like, don't you?
But last year, that tradition was broken.
Today's been a very hard day for me.
Instead, he was burying his wife, the mother of their 3 young children.
It's going to be a long time before I can feel thankful.
An autopsy says Holly Heinen complained of physical symptoms for 6 days before staff found her dead in Hawkins County Jail. She suffered a heart attack 10 days earlier.
I seen my wife on Monday. She passed away on Thursday, and she was too sick to talk to me, her father, and our youngest son. And I just wish I would have knew then what I know now.
Heinen says he can't escape the graphic details leading up to his wife's death.
Every day. Every day.
Every day, thinking back to a single phone call from another inmate.
She called me 2 days prior to her funeral and told me they had drove Holly to her death.
Witness statements are detailed in a 13-page, $10 million lawsuit, suing the county because, quote, the harm to Holly Heinen resulted from a lack of official policies and customs mandating proper medical treatment, end quote. The lawsuit states Heinen's repeated requests for a medical evaluation were ignored, the defendants instead accusing her of faking her illness. As Heinen's health declined, she was unable to control her bowel movements. After falling in the bathroom, Heinen told the defendant she could not walk. He then threatened to mace her if she did not crawl back to her bunk. The lawsuit says 1 or 2 days prior to her death, staff moved her to a medical pod and covered the glass windows with paper. Heinen was later found dead in the pod.
I don't feel my wife was above the law, but I don't feel she deserved a death sentence. We all feel like Holly was taken from us. Holly didn't die from natural causes. It was inflicted. And until the people responsible are held accountable for what they've done, I don't think any of us will ever be able to resolve this within ourselves.
I reached out to both Richard Heinen's attorney and Sheriff Ronnie Lawson to discuss the lawsuit further. Rick Spivey told me that all he can say at this point is that it is, quote, a tragic situation, end quote. Sheriff Lawson declined to comment at this time, saying that he has actually not yet been served. The lawsuit was filed November 7th.
I just feel a connection. Just a deep connection.
It's a connection fallen World War II Private Frank Tame's sister never believed would materialize.
When you hear Lost at Sea, you think Lost at Sea.
Born after his passing, Patricia Tame grasped onto the only thing she could.
All I had was a picture and stories from my mother.
A picture?
She always told me that the war ended the very day after she got the telegram.
And a telegram she still has to this day.
I knew what it said, so I didn't want to open it. About a year ago, I opened it and read it. Got very upset, but I read it out loud.
Like a cherished Bible verse, Tame holds the words close.
It said, we regret to inform you that your son, Frank Tame, was killed in action. And it told the day in honor and service of his country. I memorized it.
Now, from the depths of Italy's largest lake, the possibility of finding Private Tame's remains has provided a glimmer of hope in her life.
Just overwhelmed. Just overwhelmed.
Hope that maybe, just maybe. How would it feel to be able to finally bring your brother?
Oh, I don't know. I can't describe it. I would be so happy.
Her big brother can finally come home.
I want to put him next to my mother, the rest of my family, in this family cemetery. That's where I want to put my brother. That's where I want to put him. I'm sorry. It's hard to think about, but it makes me so happy to think it's possible.
You can hear what you're saying right now. What would you want to tell him?
I love you, brother, and I would love to have seen you, and I would love to have been part of your life when you were growing up. But for some reason, I wasn't supposed to be there. But I'm here now, and I love you just the same.
Wow.
While Private Tame's family waits to see if they'll have the ultimate closure of being able to bring his remains home, this incredible turn of events is actually bringing these family members, some that haven't talked in years, closer together during this time.
Really strengthening some bonds among those who are still alive.
Yes.
Kylie McGivern. Kylie, thank you.
The musty smell and then all the black mold through here.
It's a health concern Gibson Ridge tenant Sarah Park says she's tried to fix on her own.
I've tried to wipe it with bleach and it just keeps coming back.
A problem that keeps coming back.
It's not just one of us, it's all of us that are getting sick. And it just gets worse.
And a fix far from found.
I've asked the maintenance guy and I've asked the contractor. He's been about here 3 or 4 times. I've asked other agencies, hey, can we do mold testing? They said it's up to Huff management, and I've left multiple messages for Huff, the corporate numbers in Opelika, Alabama, and they've yet to return my phone call. So I don't know what else to do.
Parks moved into the new complex on April 1st with 2 young children in tow. Not long after, she says, she sensed something was wrong.
I started getting sick in August, mid-end August. They've put me on antibiotics the whole time, and they're like, we don't know what's causing this. And it's gotten to the extent to where about three weeks ago, in October, I was hospitalized for 3 days with breathing treatments. My O2 dropped, and my asthma's getting worse, and I've been in and out of the hospital about 5 times. The baby's gotten a bad cough, too.
They keep doing moisture readings.
And they've given her steroids, multiple antibiotics for all of us, and nothing. We just keep getting worse and keep getting worse. Sorry.
For at least 3 months, the family of 3 has essentially quarantined 2 rooms of their home.
He says, Mommy, I don't want to get any sicker.
With Park's son sleeping on the couch and her daughter in her room.
I mean, it's right next to her bed.
See, this is her floor, and they've done the holes, so it's just going straight into it.
And she's got to sleep with me, but it doesn't help when there's also mold in my bed.
Park says Gibson Ridge offered to move her into a different apartment unit, but she found the mold growth to be even worse. And this was where they had wanted to put you in?
Yeah, this is what they offered me.
And they've built drains, and they've come out, and they've had contractors here, but they've still yet to completely do it. All I want is you to make it right. I don't want my kids to be sick. It's just getting worse. And I can argue till I'm blue in the face, and it's not going to do anything until they decide to fix it.
After we left a message with the Gibson Ridge local office, I then called Huff Management, who manages that apartment complex, and received a statement. Then I called the local office twice more, got a person on the phone who referred me to the regional manager, who had the same comment as the following statement that was issued. Quote, at Gibson Ridge, all complaints and comments are taken seriously. We are pursuing any remedies that are needed, if any at all. There is not any information at this time to report, end quote. When I called back to reassure that this was the only comment Gibson Ridge wished to make and asked about any specifics to verify that they were in fact looking into Sarah Park's specific situation, I was told that they had nothing further to add.